Minister Petroleum Resources Development Arjuna Ranatunga convened a media briefing today to explain the purported shortage of petrol.
By the 9th, we are going to start distributing right around the country, so most of the issues will be gone. But for the next 2 to 3 days, if they don't get panic, we won't have a problem. That's the reason that the first 2 days we never had a problem. But after these messages, SMS messages and some other internet issues, they were trying to create an issue. And some of the unions were trying to politicize this. But unfortunately, it affected the mass, not the proper ones. But that's the reason that we kept our mouth shut, and we wanted to try and get this thing sorted out as much as possible. And that's the reason that we thought, okay, now that it's going beyond our control, we should inform the public through the media. That's the reason that we thought we'll have a media conference. No, there are political people also asking to get this shipment inside. So I don't have to answer. I don't answerable to anyone other than the President and the Prime Minister in this country and the public. So as far as I'm concerned, that's the reason that when we discussed, we rejected this particular shipment because it was not good enough for the country. And repercussions might have been worse if we got this thing into the country. So I'm sure that with all these messages, people will realize. I'm very sorry to say that I'm very sorry this particular issue happened, but I know how to sort it out.
The subject minister also commented on the rejected IOC shipment.
October 17
LIOC brought a shipment of petrol down to the country on the 17th of October. It underwent 2 rounds of testing and failed to meet the required parameters. We said we could not accept it without this data and turned the shipment around. I am sad to say that as of today, this ship has been anchored off Trincomalee for 16 days and they are trying to somehow unload this petrol in the country. Usually when a stock of fuel is rejected, the company in question has a responsibility to provide another shipment. They promised to provide another shipment of fuel by the 31st of October or the 1st of November. A few days later, they informed us that they could not do so. At the same time, CPC was anticipating a shipment of fuel to arrive by the 2nd or 3rd of November. As of today, this ship has been delayed by 6 days. This is the first time in the past 3 or 4 years that we have encountered such a delay. Meanwhile, LIOC informed us that they had a shipment of 16,000 metric tons of petrol which could be brought to the country within 4 days. We agreed, but they imposed a condition that we must also purchase a stock of diesel from them. When we tested it, we discovered that it was very low quality diesel, so we rejected that too. This is what has happened. There is no shortage of diesel whatsoever. We have enough diesel for the next 2 to 3 weeks. If there are filling stations which are refusing to supply diesel, then we will have to take a stern decision regarding the licenses in the future. There was also an SMS that was circulating around the country. I have asked both the President and Prime Minister to instruct authorities to uncover where this SMS originated from. We will also form a robust system to ensure that no substandard material will be purchased from this oil company. We are distributing 2,500 metric tons a day. There is a minor issue at some filling stations due to the long queues prompted by the high demand. We will continue to distribute 2,500 tons a day until the 9th of this month. There have been no shortages at some filling stations outside Colombo. We are hoping to resolve the issues at the major filling stations by this evening. I cannot say for sure, but normally when a ship goes to a terminal to refuel, it makes a maximum of 1.5 days. This ship had been there for 4 days. Our refinery broke down on the same day. Coincidence? We were asked to accept substandard diesel, and on top of that, once the ship was en route, it was stopped for 10 hours for bunkering. However, my most pressing concern at the moment is resolving the issue that has arisen and not investigating all of these coincidences.
Newsfirst spoke to the Managing Director of Lanka IOC, Shyam Bora, regarding some of the revelations made during the press conference held by Subject Minister Arjuna Ranatunga.
It was rejected because of the impurities in the petrol actually. It was meeting the chemical specifications, but there were some impurities in visibility, so appearance was not meeting the specifications, that's why it was rejected. This particular shipment was from Total, which is a French multinational oil company and which is the top 10 companies in the world. It is the responsibility of the supplier to replace the cargo. So we have asked supplier to replace the cargo, but supplier wanted one more chance to be given to him to test the product again. So that product was also tested and it was rejected again. And immediately we went for the spot tender, and I am going to get my product loaded today, and it may be available on 10th of this month. So immediately, based on the entire process which has been followed, because we will have to lodge damages claims against the supplier. They have not given any date for the replacement till this day. If they don't replace the product, we will take legal action against the Total. We have contacted our parent company, so they are supplying us a gasoline product which is better quality and which is going to be loaded today actually. So we will be receiving it on 10th around 15,000 tons.
The Lanka IOC managing director was also asked why the ship carrying the rejected fuel is still anchored in Trincomalee.
They will have to give the guarantee for the taking it out from the Sri Lankan water. I can't comment on why the ship is anchoring there, because as far as we are concerned, we have rejected the ship. They will have to take the customs or port permission to get out from this place.
The rejected IOC shipment on board the Astrid, a vessel flying the flag of Singapore, remains anchored off the coast of Trincomalee. The Tom Astrid, carrying 30,000 metric tons of petrol, docked in Colombo on the 15th of last month, and the shipment was rejected on the 17th. Satellite data revealed that the ship was anchored off Tangol on the 19th.
The shipment that was rejected in Colombo was taken to Trincomalee. There is another vessel anchored close to this ship carrying substandard petrol. They had been trying to transfer this fuel to another ship and then move away. The ship is currently in the outer Trincomalee harbour. There is a Hong Kong vessel anchored in the harbour, who is attempting to transfer this fuel into these tanks through the IOC.
According to satellite data, the Hong Kong-based Unique Developer vessel arrived in Trincomalee around the 30th of last month. The ship is currently anchored in the Trincomalee harbour.
Is someone trying to exploit the fuel shortage through spot purchasing? We pose this question to the Secretary of the Ministry of Petroleum Resources Development, and this is what he had to say. The CPC used to operate on spot purchases and long-term tenders when purchasing fuel. We hope to utilize both methods in a way that generates profits for the CPC. When the IOC shipment was rejected, we immediately called for a spot tender.
Strong views were expressed in the political arena regarding the handling of the petrol shortage.
They are trying to devolve power. How can this government successfully devolve power when they can't even distribute petrol? There was a substandard shipment. It was rejected and it is now anchored in the outer harbour in Trincomalee. Can't it return to India? No, they want to unload this somehow. Did the CPC workers protest for their wages to be increased or for promotions? They wanted the Trincomalee tanks to be brought under their control. They asked the government not to sell the oil tanks in the Hambantota port. They don't have tanks to store their reserves. This government is like a drunk father. He sells the bed at one time, then he sells the mattress. This is the state of our country. A lot of people don't remember the price of petrol before this government came into power. We haven't raised the prices of fuel in 2.5 years. When substandard products are brought in, we reject them. What happened before? There were plenty of instances when substandard petrol was circulated and it caused harm to the public. How many vehicles stopped in their tracks? What response did they give when we questioned this? They said that this is not a government that imports substandard goods. They appointed a 3-member committee to look into this. The report said substandard fuel was imported and called for damages to be claimed from certain persons. They said they will provide compensation to the public, but none of this has happened. While politicians engage in debates, the general public are suffering the consequences of the fuel shortage.
This is the extent of the queue that is currently existing at the filling station in Colombo 2. Upon inquiry from these vehicle owners, they said that they were also severely inconvenienced because their day-to-day lives have been disrupted by this incident, and they've had to spend almost 2 to 3 hours on the road waiting to pump fuel into their vehicles.
We have fallen out of the frying pan into the fire. We are severely inconvenienced because of this. We were deceived thrice. Once there was a petroleum strike, now the government is short of stocks. All we say is, come and see for yourselves the trouble we have to go through. Even after paying, we have to beg for fuel. I've been here since 8 in the morning.
Discussing the state of affairs in the country are senior journalists Faraz Shaukat Ali and Bandula Jayasekara, who join us now from the newsroom.
The country lost 145 billion rupees up to the end of 2015. After December 2015, the Monetary Board raised the interest rates anyway. But the calculation of 145 billion is on the increased interest rate up to the end of December 2015.
Who's going to pay for this? The Cabinet of Ministers or what?
Apparently the people, Bandula. Apparently the people.
And then, now let's talk of the present situation. The petroleum. What's happening there?
Well, it's a clear case of mismanagement. And the Prime Minister mentions that in his own statement today, as he's quoted in the Island newspaper. Well, it's a little bit rich, the Prime Minister, to say this, because it is the Prime Minister who has appointed these people. If you remember, Ravi Karunanaka, the best finance minister in South Asia.
Arjuna Mahendran,
Mahundan Kanagay, Ajit Dias from Sri Lankan Airlines, the Litro gas terrible mess that was. And, of course, we must not forget Mr. Lakshman Kirialla, the minister in charge of the highways. Remember that?
Who owns 30,000 acres.
400 million in the bank for which he's paid taxes.
But let's tell our viewers what's wrong here with the petroleum issue.
Well, it's very simple. They've run out of petrol, or so they say. And they, since 2012, the Cabinet has had a policy to purchase oil, which is the second largest purchase made by the government at 375 billion rupees every year. They took a policy decision to go for term contracts, which were advertised and bid for. But since July this year, they have not done that. They have gone for spot purchases.
But who gave these instructions? The Prime Minister or the Cabinet of Ministers? Who gave these instructions?
Well, we'll have to first of all blame the line minister, because he's in charge. And he, in turn, is, of course, responsible to the Cabinet of Ministers, which is where Mr. Wickramasinghe comes in.
So we have lost again.
Once again, we have lost.
The people.
And it's a little, I have to harp on that we are at a loss to understand whether this is incompetence, negligence, or something far more sinister.
Then what would you tell the Prime Minister?
That he must go. If he can't do the job that he promised us that he can do, then it's best if he hangs his boots and retires back to Fifth Lane.
Let's use the Royal College motto, learn or depart.
Absolutely.
Back to you, Shane.
Thank you, Faraz and Bandula. Now today's top story is vividly portrayed by cartoonist Asanka Ladwahetty.
I don't know why, I don't know why, ehema wenne ai. I don't know why, I don't know why, ehema wenne ai. Mati amatila owa danne I don't know. I don't know why, I don't know why, I don't know why, ehema wenne ai. I don't know why, I don't know why, ehema wenne ai. Mati amatila owa danne I